What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, which you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting. I'm also going to break down what the overall market is doing and how this may affect NIO, something very important involving Elon Musk and China as well, which will all have a big effect on NIO. Now, before I break anything down and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. And not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NEO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any of these 12 free stocks could be a free NEO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 7 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Looking at NEO, this thing was up about 2.19% for the day, which is pretty decent for NEO's current price action relative to before. However, if you compare it to the overall market, this is still pretty weak in my honest opinion, because if you look at NEO, it tends to have a positive beta above 2.0. And if you look at the NASDAQ, for example, the NASDAQ was up like 2.31%. NEO should have been up over 4% on a day like that. Instead, NEO was only up just barely 2%. So with that said, I mean, NEO is showing some signs of weakness right now because of the whole geopolitical situation, because of different sentiments for investors involving Chinese stocks. And on top of that, there's lots of uncertainty in a market like this. We do have lots of big earnings coming out, which will have an effect on NEO, because NEO does have a tendency of moving with the markets. And also something Elon Musk could do could affect NEO too. So looking at the overall summary, it's important to note that we have a similar price comparison between NEO and SPY, and the SPY tends to be correlated with the NASDAQ and the QQQs in this market. So very interesting to see that. But if you look at the price pairs ratio, we're at one of the lowest levels that we have seen in the entire year, unfortunately. So because of that, this is a sign of weakness, and it really shows that NEO is not moving as much as the overall market is, especially compared to before. So this sign of relative weakness is not the best of signs. However, big analysts are still giving NEO lots of buy ratings because NEO still has strong earnings, very, very strong fundamentals. And I'm still very bullish long term, guys. I mean, I know for the short term, considering what's going on in the world, the short term is going to be choppy for the markets. I do anticipate another big drop coming, but for the long term, we're still very, very bullish, guys, for NEO. I still have not lost faith. Now, historically, let me say this: 49% of the time, Mondays tend to be red days for NEO, so that is important to note. But tomorrow could still show signs of pretty decent price action. Looking at the overall short interest, there was one day where it spiked pretty crazily, but it did come down a bit as NEO was pushing up a little bit because maybe some shorts decided to cover just a small portion of their short positions. There is some potential for it to come back up, though, if the market does start to push down. So what's going on for NEO? It's important to note that for the week, we have earnings coming out, major earnings. On Tuesday, we have Microsoft and Alphabet. On Wednesday, we have Meta and Ford. Thursday, we have Shopify, Apple, Amazon, McDonald's, lots of big companies out there, followed by ExxonMobil and Chevron on Friday. So it's important to note all these things because the whole market is going to be watching these earnings. If something misses unexpectedly, which is very possible during times like this, the whole market could actually show some signs of chop, maybe reverse. However, if that's not the case, right, if most things are just pretty decent, the market could continue to hold up all right. Now, when it comes to the market, I'm not anticipating like too much crazy action before open, but I do anticipate we have somewhat of a good amount of potential to continue pushing up. Now, when it comes to the markets, the Wall Street Journal announced some important things out there. They're talking about the fact that on Friday, actually, they were talking about something very different. That's what caused the markets to pump up. They released an article about how the Fed is like getting ready to pivot. The Fed may not be as hawkish as people think. The Fed may be dovish, things like that. And as a result of that, the market began to artificially pump up. So it was very artificial. And that really shows some weakness in the markets because it requires an article like that to actually pump, even though that's not entirely true, nor is it confirmed by the Fed. What else is interesting is in China, we do have more of these lockdowns for basically getting rid of the virus entirely. This will have an effect on demand for their economy, for their people, and as a result, it will affect earnings for many big companies. On top of that, there are lots of geopolitical tensions going on. I don't really want to get into too many details, like about all of the specific details about everything that's going on, but I do want to note something important, and that's the fact that right now there's still lots of uncertainty. A lot of things that are being said by the media are not 100% confirmed yet. So that's why I'm still, very, very cautious, but simultaneously taking some things with a grain of salt. For NIO, from a technical standpoint, we do have potential to push up. This looks like a very sloppy looking inverse head and shoulders. I know it's not perfect, but NIO has made these in the past and actually continued to pump up. I actually showed you guys that a couple of days ago. And I do believe NIO has the potential to retest this 11.5 range. Now, if the market does continue to pump up, from the rally we saw on Friday, it's very possible for NIO to continue to push above that 11.66 level of resistance. If we get a clean break above that, we have the potential, in my opinion, to pump to where this gap area is and maybe start filling the gap right here. If that's the case, NIO could pump to that $12 range. However, I'm still going to be very cautious because it's very dependent on earnings. Another thing that's very big would be Elon Musk, because it appears he's very fixated on this whole Twitter deal, and it's very possible for Musk to actually announce that he's going to be buying Twitter completely and close the deal super soon. So, him closing Twitter, the whole deal, could actually lead him to selling billions of dollars worth of Tesla stock. This is important because Tesla has a tendency of affecting the overall EV sector, including NIO. So, if Tesla does end up taking a huge dump with Musk selling, other investors are likely going to enter this domino effect where they start selling too, and this could have a negative effect on NIO. If you look at Tesla and NIO side by side, let me just give you guys a quick example. These things tend to be correlated. If I pull up a grid right here and I pull up Tesla right next to it, you will notice that they look very similar in terms of their price action. Very, very similar from this end. If you just look at them side by side over the last couple of days, right? We had this big drop on both sides right here. Small push up, big drop, then we continued to rally into the upside. The whole market was basically following this trend. But it's pretty clear that Tesla does have an effect on NIO, and that could lead to some kind of like bearish price action, some chop here and there. But until then, it's not confirmed yet. And that's the reason why I'm not too fixated on this. The market is likely going to continue to artificially pump. So I wouldn't be surprised if NIO continues to push up a bit more from here. We could actually touch 11.5 very soon, 11.66, followed by $12 pretty quickly. Looking at the SPY real quick, you'll notice we had this big rally up here. If we break above that 375 level, we have potential to retest 378 to 380. Very, very possible in the short term. Not necessarily surprising, in my opinion, honestly. But remember, the last time we actually touched that zone, I could actually pull it up right here somewhere. Let me use the 30-minute. So the last time we actually touched that zone was right here around the beginning of October. And you guys can see we chopped here a couple of days before getting a huge rejection and coming down very hard. So in this market, could there be more upside? Sure. But I'm not necessarily going to be too fixated on this. I do believe there's going to be a big reversal relatively soon, whether it starts because of earnings this week or the FOMC meeting in 2 weeks. That could be the big switch that's going to happen. The market is likely going to see some more downside later on. Looking at the Nasdaq as well, very, very similar setup. It is pushing up a bit. It has potential to break above resistance at around very close to the 11,000 range. If we break above that and continue pushing, we could fill this gap one last time before getting a big reversal from there. And looking at Apple, just another stock I want to talk about. We're showing lots of relative strength on here. We could continue pushing to about 150 in my opinion. But where we go also depends on earnings. Now, if we are pumping going into earnings, a big reaction to the opposite direction could also happen. This could affect the markets too. So for NIO, what am I essentially anticipating? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if NIO pumps up just a little bit more, guys. But NIO is not pumping up very hard. So far, we're showing some weakness because typically when the market pumps up, like I mentioned, we should be pumping up a lot more. I wouldn't be surprised if NIO pumps up like this going into open. We retest at 11.66 zone. And if we really get enough momentum to push this thing up very hard, it is possible for NIO to come all the way up here to this like $12 range. But I'd be very careful when actually making that claim because NIO has been struggling a bit recently. But it is very possible for us to continue to push to this zone over the next couple of days. I don't think earnings are going to be that bad. I wouldn't be surprised if NIO comes to this 12 to 11.66 range very soon. Maybe closes a little bit green, at least for the short term. However, I must note that, look, the market might have some downside in the medium term. That means, like, as we approach November, I wouldn't be surprised if the beginning of November sees a little bit of red here and there. The market starts coming down. However, guys, the long term future for NIO and the markets is still very bright, and I do believe NIO is going to prevail. When it comes to NIO's technology that they are developing, their strong customer service, the hard work that they do every single day, I'm very bullish long term. For the short term, there is going to be chump, but please do not let that get the best of you. In my opinion, it's just a big opportunity. So take it as it is, remain calm, cool, and collected, and I will most definitely see you guys in the next video. NIO to the moon, because the long term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.